What's up, YouTube? Prof Sales coming at you with a video about working for Amazon. Could it be true? So hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for joining me in this live stream. Let me know if you can hear me okay in the chat and so on. I'm going to readjust the camera here a little bit. But this channel is about being an entrepreneur, buying and selling things online, creating a business, and just, figuring out a way to work for yourself, be your own boss, which really makes the title of this video ironic. So we'll get into that in a second. But if you get a chance, check out the description of this video. There's all kinds of helpful tools and tricks and so on for you to help you in your reselling days, whether you're on eBay or Amazon or any of the other big reselling platforms. And this is a live show, so I'll be interacting with the chat as well. So hopefully that will be interesting. You'll be able to see that on the playback. So this kind of came about, this situation, because of something I mentioned a few videos back. And I'll try to link to that video in this one. About, I don't know, a few months ago, I started talking about running out of capital in your business, what to do if you run out of capital. Like if you're selling things, you're buying things, you're finding great things to source, and you're buying them and you're selling them, but you're not selling them as fast enough to replenish the capital, grow the capital. And so I did a video about, different ways you could regrow or grow your capital. There's credit, there's loans, there's, of course, just waiting for the profits to come in. But the reality is, I don't know about you guys, but I think there's like so much stuff out there that you can buy and flip and resell, no matter what platform you're on. There's really not a shortage of items. There's just a shortage of money to buy it. And sometimes there's a shortage of does it make sense to do it because it's profitable, but it's not as profitable as you'd like for your time and blah, blah, blah. And I've been running into this for months now, and it got to kind of a critical point, to be totally honest. When I was buying things for eBay and so on, the items I was buying were cheaper. They don't sell as fast, and you don't make necessarily the same profit on them. They were just as plentiful, but my capital outlay every month wasn't as high. But in the last probably 6 months or so, maybe a little less, I've really been, burning through items on Amazon and so on for the most part, but I just keep running out of capital to sell them. And I've kind of experimented with a couple different niches in terms of what I'm selling, categories and so on. Books being still one that I'm still heavily in, health and beauty, grocery, some apparel items and so on. And whenever you switch to those other categories, there's a learning curve, and I wouldn't say switch to those categories. There's just a learning curve where you don't know what you're doing exactly. You don't know how to anticipate if this will sell through or not. And, it's been a struggle to keep capital flowing in the business, to be quite honest. And I don't mind saying that. I mean, I think there's a lot of resellers on YouTube, and this is maybe better for a whole nother video. There's a lot of resellers that go on YouTube and talk about their business quite a bit, and they talk about what they're selling and so on, but they don't really understand their numbers. They don't really understand if they're really bringing money in. They don't understand their cash flow. They don't understand their outlays every month. And, they get very hyped up in the thrill of the hunt, or, hey, I bought this for $1 and sold it for $37, and, not really looking at their business as a whole. And I have never been that person. I've always tried to look at it as honestly and objectively as I can, because who are we fooling here, right? I mean, I could come on here and tell you guys all kinds of crap and make a bunch of stuff up, and you wouldn't know for sure if it was true or not. You might suspect it's not true, but what do I get from that? It doesn't make me any more successful, and plus I'd feel really bad about lying. So, excuse me. I have had a capital crunch for several months now, and I decided I got to do something about it. So my options were to, explore other revenue sources, which are online and so on, other non-traditional routes. And I'm doing that. Like, that's part of the reason I'm getting back on YouTube. Full disclosure, I make a little bit of money off of YouTube every month. It's not a super amount, but it's a little bit. And there's been times when it's been significant. Um, not like life changing, but significant. And I desire to get back to that to some level at least. AdSense helps YouTubers a little bit. People click on your affiliate links and buy stuff, which doesn't cost them anything but helps out channels. And I think you should do that. Like, if you're following somebody and you think they're providing good content and good value, or maybe you just enjoy listening to them, whatever it is, you should absolutely support them. You should watch their videos. You should click on their affiliate links, even if you don't buy the stuff. Like, if you buy something else, it helps them out. If they're selling a course or something, that's a little different, because then you've got to actually figure out if it's going to bring you the value you think it's going to. But like, watching a video and clicking through people's affiliate links is a great way to support somebody without really any money coming. There's no money coming out of your pocket for that. It's some time. And you probably learn something too, because you like them, right? I think you should do that. I think you should support people on YouTube, because honestly, there's a lot of people out there who put out really good content, whatever the category is, and it's not monetized at all or very heavily. And they're just devoting time and time and time and getting nothing back for it. So I'm always been a supporter of that, but let's be real. YouTube doesn't provide a full-time income for only, I would say, in the reselling niche, I would say there's maybe 5 to maybe 10 people that could realistically make a full-time income for one person off of YouTube, just because I know some of the behind the scenes numbers and what these people make off of it. And there's nothing wrong with any of their channels or anything, but most YouTubers, including myself, this is not a full-time gig. You can't go out there and do that. So you got to be realistic. So if your reselling gig is not doing it for you, and you have some secondary stream of income that's not getting there too, you got to do something else. And I decided that, and I got to tell you, this killed me, but I decided that I would have to go and get some sort of part-time work. Even saying that now is painful. There's a part of me that thinks working for somebody else again is a sort of failure. That it's, that I'm basically giving up. But I'm not, and it's not a failure. And I've come to terms with that over the last, I don't know, probably a week or two. And on a whim, I decided, I thought, how crazy would it be if I worked for Amazon, given that I'm selling on Amazon and so on. And by the way, there's not any, as far as I know, there's not any restriction against that. You can still sell on the platform even if you work for them. And I went and applied, I guess, probably about a week or so ago, maybe 10 days. And the application process online was super, super simple, just putting some basic info like name and address and so on. And they basically said, you have a job. It was the strangest strangest application process ever. So I went to a meeting, or I don't know what you'd call it, like a new hire meeting, I guess, last week, where we had to give our documentation, turn it and like show our ID and all that good stuff so we can prove citizenship. We watched a few videos, we took a drug test, and then they said, hey, pending that everything comes back okay, you're hired. I'm like, wow, this is like the easiest job interview I think I've ever taken. So I had to wait a few days, and then finally the results came back in from the drug test and background, all that stuff was good. And I'm supposed to go for a new orientation tomorrow. Amazon is hiring tens of thousands of people right now for probably seasonal help. Who knows what'll happen after that or how long it'll last. The job pays $15 an hour, which all Amazon jobs pay that. So it's a good part-time wage. I mean, for Charlotte, that's a good part-time salary for Charlotte, for sure. Clearly, that's not like, life-changing money. But with, if I can push, say, $1,000 to $1,500 a year or $1,500 a month back into my pocket each month from working this part-time gig, why not? I mean, why not? Like it's crazy. It shouldn't have to be a hard job. I don't think it might be boring. It might be physically tiring, but right now, I've always talked about on this channel, you have to leverage whatever you have in excess to get whatever you are short of. Should be a t-shirt in there. I didn't say that very well, but there should be. Right now, I've run into a huge capital crunch. Just every single month, the same thing. So how do I get capital? Well, I take what I have, which is time, and go earn capital with it. And so that's what I'm doing. Amazon's going to give me a check every week. They pay weekly too, which I find interesting. But Amazon pays weekly, and they pay weekly, and they're going to give me a check every week for the work I'm going to do for them. And I'm going to take that money and turn it back into, product, turn it back into success. If I can't be out spending my time sourcing or prepping and shipping and sending things in, then I should be spending my time earning revenue so that I can go do those things. I guess it's kind of smart, but I also, as I mentioned earlier, there's a little sense of disappointment, because when you've been working for yourself for a while and then you end up going back to work, like all these feelings come back in your brain about what it was like to work for somebody else. And you're just like, man, I didn't like this. I didn't like that. I wanted to move away from this. And I have all those feelings again. Like right now I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going to have to deal with some idiot boss probably, and I'm like, you're kind of talking yourself into a bad situation, which is not really fair. Chances are I'll go there. It'll be maybe a mind numbing job, but not a hard job. You just have to go do it. Hopefully I will learn something too. And I don't know if I will or not. I don't know exactly what I'll be doing yet. And I know I can do other things. You don't have to keep doing whatever is initially put you in if you're interested in other things. But I don't know. I mean, it just made sense. I couldn't think of a better way to go out and work somewhere to get that particular hourly rate for that amount of hours. I don't know how many hours I'll get. I might get as many as 30. I might only get like 20. I don't know, something like that. But, I still think it'll probably average out to maybe $1,000 to $1,100 a month after taxes, which is, I don't know. I mean, I start getting interested around $500 a month, and 1,000, I'm even more interested because I'm like, all right, that's enough to say it's impactful. Like it'll make an impact. You can use that and do something with it. I think I'll be working 4, maybe 5 days a week. It was interesting, the interview process, which wasn't an interview. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But the first thing they did when they came in the room was they handed us this sheet that had our names on it and what we had signed up for online in terms of shifts. And it had like a whole week on it. And they said, hey, go ahead and indicate right away if there's any other shifts you can work and if you can work double shifts. So I told them I didn't put down I could work any doubles. I'm not sure I could go do a 12-hour shift on a concrete floor right now without wanting to kill myself. But it was interesting. They were that desperate for hours and people. And somebody said driving job for Amazon. Yeah, I thought about that too. I would do that. I would drive one of those vans around. I've heard they're putting people in business to do that now, like trying to make them their own entrepreneurs. But let's be honest, when you need money to fund something, whether it's your expenses, whether it's your business, whatever it is. I mean, I look, it's all fungible. Money comes in and I can use it for the business. I can use it for personal expenses. If I use it for the business, it generates more for the personal, expenses and so on, which is great. But it's all kind of fungible. Like it all kind of comes in one pot, and then I need to divvy it up accurately. And I just looked at it like it was a kind of a no-brainer. For the amount of money and the pay and the work and so on, I could probably hold out for something better somewhere else, but it could take months. And like, I don't want to wait. Like, this is fourth quarter. This is right now. I mean, I can turn this money into, triple, quadruple potentially over the next 4 months with fourth quarter and so on. So that's a little bit about why I made this decision to go start working for Amazon. I am going to do my best to try to maybe make some videos about the experience too, just because whatever. I don't want to get in trouble. And I don't want to do anything that's against their policies. I don't know how they would feel about filming there at working. They might not want you to, which is fine. I'll go through a couple comments and I'm going to share with you kind of the process that we went through, the job process. So John Clear, Jonathan, man, you should really get a profile pic. I mean, you're like a green bubble. Good to see you, buddy. R. Cooper says, I never bought into flipping as a full-time job, especially if you're a parent and have kids. It's really hard to make enough money to make up for the benefits such as healthcare, 401k. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get that period. Like, well, here's the thing, R. Cooper. Like, if you go and get a job and you have kids, for instance, then you may be paying for daycare. So a big chunk of your job, plus you've got now more travel expenses. You may have to get additional clothing. Like, getting a job is not free. It comes at a price too, and especially if you do have kids, because somebody's got to watch those kids. Then maybe you have somebody to watch them, or they're at school or whatever. But I agree with you that it's definitely expensive just to live, right? You're so right, Jason. Resellers really don't know their numbers or future scalability. A little bit can be a light bill, honest to hear. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And when you really break all the numbers down, a lot of people aren't really making as much as they think they're making, especially if you put it in terms of an hourly rate. It's not that great. Not that going and working a job is that great either. I mean, it depends on the job, right? I mean, I look at it like I'm not doing this just to work, because working is not the goal. Working is a means to an end. Working is a means to first, all the creature comforts or all the things you have to have, and then some of your wants and so on, and then hopefully a better financial future down the road. So, you've done that with your spreadsheet, and that's been some amazing transparency. It's one of the reasons I jumped into books. Yeah, I mean, spreadsheets brought a lot of people a lot of value, so I don't have any problem still. And I still, people ask me questions about it now and again. Yeah, it would be great if people on YouTube came on and talked about their fails. Some people do. I can't say no one does. Some people come on and tell you, but there is a lot of rah, look how great I am. And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody in particular. I'm just saying that in general, there's not a lot of the other side of reselling, which sometimes sucks. Let's be honest. Sometimes it sucks for all kinds of reasons. And you know what? Life sometimes sucks. And sometimes life is beautiful and amazing. And that's just the way it goes. It's just a struggle, right? But it would be nice to hear people talk about some of the downsides too, just to tell people, look, this is reality. Like, you're going to go through this range of emotions and these things are going to happen to you. And that's okay. My brother just went to Amazon for the third time, RIC2. Yeah, I think I've shipped to them many times. I can't remember where RIC2 is. I work 3 jobs: IT, Amazon, books, Lyft. You're good, Prof. Gosh, man, it's a lot of jobs. You may learn while working there. I'm hoping so. Ken says I did the same thing. I'm going through the same thing. I did the same thing. My orientation is set for October 2nd. Pay is $17.90 an hour because it's an overnight gig. 3 days a week, 12 hours a day. Yeah, I couldn't do that third shift, Ken. So God bless you if you can do that, man. That's tough. I was not. My shift is supposed to be like 2 to 8. So I'm okay with that. Like, by 2 o'clock, I am well awake and functional. And I've got a couple days off, for sure. Maybe even 3 days off some weeks. Is any of the money? Hey, Seth, what's up? Is any money you'll be making going towards living expenses or all back in the business? I think I talked about that a minute ago. Like, it's all kind of fungible, right? I mean, it's all fungible in my mind. If I end up, having to, Kaaren and I have some things we want to do living wise and so on. And if I end up having to spend some to do that, then fine. If I push it into the business, that's fine too. I mean, I don't really care. Like, money to me, guys, I don't know how you feel. money to me is just a means to an end. Like, it's not the end. It's not the goal. If you set out with a goal to become rich, it won't happen. I mean, chances are it won't happen because that's not really a realistic goal. A realistic goal is to do something that you enjoy, that you can be successful at, that you want to put your time and energy into and build. That is a realistic goal. And money tends to follow that, but it's not without its pitfalls along the way. Um, the demands on the drivers have to be insane. Imagine the stress involved. Yeah, I don't know, Illinois Picker. You might be right about that. I don't know much about the driving jobs. Those are pretty snazzy Mercedes vans they're driving around. But you could be right. It could they're going to 1 day delivery, guys. Some of you probably know this, if not all of you. Amazon is going to 1 day delivery, which is insane. I don't know how they're going to do that. The logistics of that is just mind boggling. But they've got a big infrastructure in place, so maybe they can get it done. Are you looking at this a temporary thing? Or are you aiming at eventual self-employment again? That's a great question, Matt. It depends. It depends. I think there's probably there's a greater than 0% chance that I will get there and like the company, like working for it. I don't think it's a high probability because I'm still going to run into the same problems that I had before. But my perspective now is I see it as something that is a means to a greater end. Now, how long I need to keep doing that, that's a great question. And I don't know the answer to that. Come talk to me in like 90 days. Let's see where we're at. Amazon gives all employees a free pro account. I've heard that too, Ken, but then I've also heard conflicting information. So it'd be nice to hear that. I mean, I sell more than 40 items a month, so it makes up for it, but it would be nice to not have to pay it. Let's see what the other comments are. Sorry, muted there. eBay and selling prices are going down. Hard to compete. Increased platforms. Yeah, platforms siding with customers. Decrease prices. You could be right. I mean, selling platforms in general may become harder and harder for the third-party small seller to access. I'm not convinced they won't be. They might be. There may be a hobby there, but if you're looking to, move into a little bit more substantial business, but you're not, you don't have the deeper pockets or the bigger ambition to go for a big business, there might not be in the future. Let me tell you about the process of the hiring very quickly here, because I thought it was kind of funny. And by the way, if you guys are watching, hit the like button. If you like the content, you're helping out your YouTube creator here, so I appreciate it. So I get to the place, I think my meeting was at 9:30. They built a new fulfillment center over near, or it's actually a sortation center, they call it, over near the airport here in Charlotte. Big, huge new building. And there ended up being about 30 people there, maybe 35 of us. And they brought us all in, and they passed around the schedule sheet and asked us about doubles and so on. And then they had us watch a couple videos, and then a woman came up and explained some things about the job and welcome us there. Funny story. She mentioned that we would be taking our drug test today, and she said, "Now, if any of you at any moment don't feel like the drug test is something that's right for you today." Please feel free to excuse yourself or let us know, or maybe say you have to go out and use your phone, and we can reschedule this for another time. But right after she mentioned that, this guy who was sitting beside me raises his hand, and she goes, "Yes, sir, you have a question?" He said, "Yeah, does Amazon randomly drug test?" Two people in the front row turned around and looked at this guy like, "Seriously, bro, you just asked that question?" To people, do they randomly drug? And she said, "Yes, we do randomly drug test." And he was like, "Oh," but he was kind of a little different, let's just say. But we we went in this room. So if any of you think about working for Amazon, this is what the process would be like. We finished the video. She finished her spiel. Then we went and did our I-9 paperwork, which only took a few moments. Funny story also, I could not find my social security card and birth certificate. I had to apply for a new social security card and take them the receipt to show them that I had. What a pain. But, and when I get my new card, I'll have to show it to them. But it was no problem. I got the receipt. But if you ever have to do that, it will suffice for a lot of employers, the receipt from the SSA saying you apply for a social security card, a replacement. So then we go in the room and it's a drug test and it's like a mouth swab. So we all had to do it together. All 30 people are standing there and the woman's walking us through the instructions. And you put it in the side of your mouth and you sit there for like 10 minutes with this thing sticking out of your mouth. It's kind of funny looking. And then you very carefully put it down in the bag and seal it up. There's very specific ways you have to do it. So after we get done though with that, it's probably like 11 o'clock. So I've been there about an hour and a half or so. When we are walking back, as I'm walking back out, I have to go back through the room we initially went in. There's another 35, 40 people there. Crazy. Like a whole nother group. I mean, just in that one center that day, they're hiring 75, 80 people. And that was only at about 11 o'clock. They had time for a bunch more meetings. So the amount of people they're hiring is nuts. So if you want to get a part-time job for maybe the holiday even, Amazon's not a bad way to go. I have worked in warehouses before when I was a kid and so on, and I haven't done it for a while. But I'm used to what warehouse work is. When I was in college, I worked for temporary agencies, and it seemed like every job they gave me was a warehouse job of some kind. Doing this, moving this over here, putting this there, running this equipment, filling these boxes, whatever. So I kind of know what to expect in a warehouse. I mean, it's monotonous work. It's it's standing on your feet. I'm going to be purchasing some really good shoes. I'm not going to skimp on that because standing on concrete for 5 or 6 hours can wreck your body. Probably wearing some compression socks to because your blood all like goes down to your feet when you stand a long time. That can be actually kind of bad for you. But I mean, I know what to expect in terms of a warehouse job. There's loading docks and there's pallet jacks and robots and pallets and conveyor belts and people everywhere and, a bunch of crap everywhere. So, that's just the way warehouses are. They're not that different. And so then it's just a matter of, can I keep up with whatever the job requires? I don't know. I have these images in my head of like an episode of I Love Lucy where they're standing there in the chocolate factory, Lucy and Ethel, and they're trying to put the chocolates in these little wrappers and the conveyor belt's going faster and faster. So eventually they start putting the chocolate in their mouth and eating and putting in their clothes and because they can't keep up. It's a very funny scene, but hopefully it won't be quite that bad. But, working in a warehouse it's a necessary evil for what we do. And so hopefully I will learn something about Amazon and how they, maybe just kind of a bigger picture view of how our items sort of cycle through this process. I don't know if that helped me as a seller or not. I figure it can't hurt. But that's kind of that's why I'm doing this job. For all those reasons and others. It'll be nice too to have a peer group during the middle of the day. As you guys know, and this is another great factor of a part-time gig, especially if you're on a capital and you're a reseller, it's a lonely gig reselling. Like Kaaren is at a job now most of the day, so it kind of leaves me alone. And it'd be kind of cool to go out and meet a group of people again and all the craziness that will entail. But it'll be nice to kind of have a group of people to engage and interact with during the day again. I've kind of missed that to some degree, for sure. I don't miss many things from working for somebody else, but that is one thing I do miss. And I look at it as just like, you meet some people you like, some people you don't like as much, but it doesn't really matter. It all makes up the whole entertaining, engaging, group of coworkers and so on. So that'll be cool. Please, let me look at a couple more questions here. Illinois Picker says, find out the details when we get notice that a customer is getting a refund because the driver did not deliver on time. Your account will be adjusted. How can we punish for that? Man, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's I think where I will be able to see kind of like the packages going out to the drivers potentially. So maybe I'll get some insight about how that process works and if people are, how the drivers, how the packages go from the warehouse to the driver, and then what the routing is. I will definitely try to ask some questions about that because I'm interested too. Because I think Amazon has built this. It's interesting. Like people think of Amazon as a marketplace, and it is, but really Amazon is in the logistics business. I mean, they're in the business of getting a product from you to a customer. That's their job. Their job is logistics, to get it from you, store it, and then send it to a customer. They're not in the selling business, really. I mean, that's part of their business, but the logistics business is much more important because people flock to Amazon for speed. They flock to it for good pricing and so on. They flock to it for availability. So if they don't get the product quickly and to the right place quickly, that's a fail. So their logistics is really what they do. So it'll be kind of interesting if I can learn a little bit about that. David says they're already doing 1-day delivery. Yeah, I knew they were starting to do it, David. I didn't know. What I don't know is, have they committed to that completely now across the board? I thought they were kind of rolling out, but maybe I might be wrong about that. Michelle says we live so close to a FC, we can get some things the same day. Yeah, that happens here in Charlotte too. There are things you can get the same day, which is pretty nuts when you think about it. Charlotte 4, I just sent first shipment there. Sue, if I see your stuff, I will. Well, I won't really. If I'm in a sortation center, I won't really see your stuff because it'll already be packaged. I think. I don't think we do the. I don't think. I don't. I don't know. But the sortation center, my understanding is it's kind of like the last stop before it goes out to the customer. So it theoretically is already boxed and ready to go, but I might be wrong. Somebody can correct me on that if I am. In other words, I need to know which days I can come to work high. Yeah, Illinois Picker. That's what I kind of felt like that's what the guy was getting at. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you'd want to go work somewhere that drug tests, and if you're going to do drugs, like that doesn't really make sense to me. Like find somewhere else. There's plenty of places that don't. Are you still doing books? Yes. I actually have about 40 books here ready to go. I've got a shipment here that I'm sitting on, and I've had to sit on it for a little while because it's got meltables in it. And as many of you know, you can't have an item hit the warehouse before October 1st if it's a meltable, or Amazon will dispose of it. And when I say dispose, they'll just dispose of it. Like you don't even get it back. I know some things slide through and that happens and people are able to sell things, get things through, but I wouldn't risk that. You don't want to risk your inventory. So I've been sitting on this shipment for like about a week now, and it kind of sucks. I can't send it in because my sales are really slumping really, really bad. But there's nothing I can do because it's got multiples in it, and it didn't make sense to break it up any differently. So I would probably go ahead and submit the batch maybe tomorrow, and then which is the 27th, and then go ahead and ship it like Saturday or Sunday, and I should be okay, I think. I'm just asking for a fair shot as a third-party seller. If I screw up, then penalize me. But if it's not my fault, don't hamper my ability to profit. Yeah, I mean, Illinois Picker, you bring up an interesting point. I think if I was Amazon, I want to say that I would kowtow to every seller, and I would treat every seller with respect and dignity and try to be fair to them. But ultimately, I'm probably looking at sellers in the aggregate. Like here, I got this big group of third-party sellers, and how am I going to treat all of them in a given circumstance? And then I just apply a rule. I know that's not the best answer you want to hear. But once you get to the size of a company like Amazon, I don't know how you provide that individual service anymore. I don't know how you provide it to a buyer either. I don't think you can, not very easily. You can't, personalized service for a $12 transaction just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for, and you're one seller too. I've heard stories of even large sellers have wacky stuff happen to them, their accounts get suspended or so on, which by the way is it's maybe a topic for a whole other video, but I read a story the other day I made the mistake of going to one of the Seller Central forums, and someone had a business where they had 60 employees and something happened with their buyer account, like it got hacked and people were making fraudulent buys. I don't know. And their seller account got shut down. So now their entire business, they've been on the platform for like 15 years, is in jeopardy. They haven't been able to sell anything, haven't been able to get into their account for over a month. And they were going to have to get rid of their 60 employees and lose their entire business. And I just thought, man, with an operation that big, why are you only on one platform and all your eggs in the Amazon basket? That just seems incredibly risky for all kinds of reasons, and I think there's just a good lesson there. Make sure you diversify out your revenue, which is kind of what I'm doing with this job. I'm diversifying my revenue, right? Granted, I could lose my seller account on Amazon. I don't think they would fire me. I guess it's possible if it was something really egregious, but I kind of doubt it. Like, I think they view it all separately, and there's other streams too. That's part of the reason I've gotten back. Like, I've just been too reliant on just the Amazon selling part, and it's just been too much of a struggle to get over the hump with it. So I just got to do something different. I think it's the last stop if it's a flex warehouse. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know all their language yet, reseller niche, about how these fulfillment centers and these sortation centers work. I think the one I went to, the new one they built at the airport, is a sortation center, but I'm going to be working at the one in Concord. Yes, and I'm not really sure which one that is. So, what's up, Adam? Paul, didn't Luke go back to his career job too? Hard to imagine he's already leveled up to do real estate full time and no resale. Well, I don't want to speak for Luke, and he's talking about Luke Henson of Endless Entrepreneurs. Luke was a reseller on eBay primarily. Yes, Luke never quit his career job, so Luke was always doing reselling on the part time. And as he told me pretty early on in my friendship with him, that he was always going to transition. His plan was to always transition out of reselling eventually. It was never designed to be the end all be all full time gig for him. And Luke's a smart guy, and he kept his job. He was able to keep his job, which pays him well, and diversify some of that income into reselling and eventually real estate. So I think now I'd have to ask him, but he's probably in a situation where he's working and he's building his real estate portfolio, which makes total sense. It probably even fits Luke's personality better too. Like he loves numbers. He loves the metrics behind things, and real estate is driven by those, right? It's numbers based. It's not emotion. You look at, you make a decision based on all the numbers of a deal. So I think that's why he did that. But he could probably speak to it a lot better than I could. Let's see what else is here in the comments. Illinois Picker says, I should have been much sooner on the platforms to be reselling, to be honest. Yeah, we all wish we would have started probably earlier at some point. 95% of Americans die broke. Well, that's encouraging, Richard. There's a value, unless you have people you're leaving it to, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Like, you're like, I spent the last dime on my last day. Okay, fair. I think it's smart to diversify your income if you're a reseller. You can be shut down anytime on a selling platform. Greener says, yeah, absolutely. You absolutely could be shut down anytime, or not even shut down. Like, the platform could just change in a way that is just devastates your business. Like it will change. It will change. They change all the time. They've changed so many times for me in this journey over the last 4 years or whatever it's been. And they continue to change. So hopefully they give you a bathroom break. You always hear horror stories in the news. Yeah, I'm not going to go heavy on the water until I learn, Alan. I've figured Amazon out. You're not going to trick me, Jeff. We're supposed to get, I think for a 6-hour shift, you're supposed to get a 30-minute lunch that's not paid. And then I think you get maybe one break in there. I'm not positive. I'm used to all that crap. Like I remember being in situations where we couldn't really take a lot of time off and it was hard to get breaks and so on. So I don't think this will be really any different, but I'm not going to be working the 12-hour shifts at this point. I don't see myself doing that. I don't see myself working a 12-hour shift. I mean, from a monetary standpoint, it probably makes sense because like you're maximizing you're there for one trip and getting double the pay versus, but I'm okay without that. Like I gotta have some sanity. So we'll see what happens. Sounded like Luke wanted to be a real estate baron. He does, maybe. I don't know if a baron is the right term, but yeah, he wants to be heavily in it for sure. Susanna, what's up, Susanna? I've heard horror stories about how Amazon treats their employees. It would sort of scare me off, but I can understand your need to get a job. Yeah, I look at it this way, Susanna, like Amazon's a huge company with tens and tens of thousands of employees. And in those tens and tens, there's going to be people who don't like the job or have a bad experience for all kinds of reasons. There are also going to be people who have good experiences. You're not going to hear about the good ones as much for various reasons. I was actually watching a couple videos today about that very subject. And one of the people that I was watching, I don't remember her name, but she was talking about, she thought there were more cons than pros to work in Amazon. But this is one of her cons. She said, it really sucked because the fulfillment center was 2 hours away from where I lived. And I just like shook my head thinking, that's a con? Like you decided to work there. You knew it was that far away. They're not going to, did you expect them to build a fulfillment center across the street from your house? I mean, that's kind of silly. Like, and she was complaining about the locker sizes, they were too small. And I'm going, all right, there are legitimate complaints of jobs, but those two things are not legitimate complaints. Like the business is where the business is. You don't get to accept a job knowing where it is and then later complain about how far away it is. That's not fair. So I don't know, but I mean, other people said it was, it was okay. I mean, you're standing, you're having a, it's kind of not the most exciting job in the world, I'm sure. Like you're just moving a lot of stuff, right? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. My only concern is physically if I can deal with, the standing and so on, which is only get shoes, compression socks, all those things, and just, do the best I can. And if I can't do it, I can't do it. Paul says he's going to work for TurboTax during tax season to get his foot back into that career. Good, man. That's cool. Taxes is always something I always found kind of interesting. Not interesting enough to work in it, but kind of interesting. Did Ben's season start yet? I guess Kaaren misses him. Yeah, Ben's rugby season has started, but he had an injury. He hurt his toe pretty bad, so he hasn't been able to play these first several weeks. I think he might be able to get back in action. He's going to be, with any luck, they're playing a game against Clemson, which is not far from here. So with any luck, we might get to go see them if he's on the team and playing, but we don't know all those things yet. His injury's got a lot to do with that. But he's doing great. I can't believe you have 6-hour shifts. Why is that different than the fulfillment centers, Michelle? I'm not sure. You can't believe there are less time, there are more time than that? Why? I admire what you and Kaaren have tried to accomplish these last 4 years. No one can say you didn't try. Well, Thanks for that comment, Greener. And I think inherent or inside your comment, there's an assumption there that we haven't accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. Maybe you're not making that assumption, but the way the comment reads. And I think we try every day. Like everybody try, like you try your entire life. Like it never stops. You never reach a point where you're like, oh, it's over. I failed. I mean, that truly would be failure. I think it's more like it's an evolution you're evolving every single day. So I think we're constantly figuring out what the next day and week and month, year will be like. But we'll see. There's also going to be people who don't like the job because they don't like to work. True. Valid. The sorting center sounds different than fulfillment centers. Fulfillment centers have 10-hour shifts. Oh, that might be why. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to do a 10-hour shift. That's probably enough time. I'd be like, how hard will the transfer be? I've done eBay and Amazon since 2009. No way I could go back to work for somebody. Yeah, I'll probably be on here ranting about how much I hate working for somebody again in a few weeks. Entirely possible. I'm not ruling that out. Picker Paul. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's been several years since I worked for somebody else full time. I don't know. But at some point you got to just do what you got to do. And I'm a big believer in that a good plan today beats a perfect plan tomorrow. And there probably is a better plan that I could pursue, but I don't know what it is right now. So until I know what it is, I'm going to do something to help. And this is it. Hey, Prof, late to the party. Do you feel there are any lessons you learned that someone can do as a full-time reseller? Oh my gosh, there's tons of lessons. Tons of lessons. I couldn't even, man, you just gave me an idea for a different video. But I don't know that I'm going to quit being a full-time reseller. I don't know. I mean, that I'm only reselling. Maybe that's the better way to look at it. I still know I'll still be able to source and prep and ship with this job, which is great. Like there's even sourcing opportunities on the way and from work where, and that I hit on a pretty regular basis. So there's so many things I could talk about trying to do it full time that I would say the biggest thing is I don't like playing the comparison game, but when I see some people that are at a different level than me right now, and I try to think about what's really different about their situation and what I can learn from. One thing I learned from, and this is probably the same for every business, I started this gig with, money from the change jar for all intents and purposes. Not quite that bad, but a pretty small amount of starting capital. And while you can do it that way, if you're trying to go full time and you have any kind of living expenses at all of any substantial, I mean, I don't think I live extravagantly at all. But it's really tough. Like I don't want to paralyze somebody, but you would do well if you want to jump into reselling full time, not only to educate yourself, that's part of the game, to get yourself mentally wrapped around this game and emotionally. But man, you can almost never have enough starting capital. I don't think it's possible. Like you're going to take whatever number you need and multiply it times 5, maybe even 10. And then you'll probably have a good starting point, because so many things are going to cost money and not work the way you thought, that you're just going to keep running into that over and over and over and over, whether it's Amazon or eBay or whatever. And, if you're not willing to take that capital and put it in play, this might not be the gig for you. If you say, well, I got $10,000 I can start my business with, and then you have great opportunities come your way, and you're like, well, but I only want to put 1,000 out there. This ain't for you, man. Like you've got to be willing to put it in play and go after it, and you're going to fail and fall down on it. But if you're always waiting for a better opportunity on where to spend that money, you'll be waiting your whole life. So I would say that's important. Like really, really try to have as much capital set aside before you start as possible. So, the number one reason small businesses fail is because they're undercapitalized. They don't have, it's not because they're not selling a profitable product. And I'd say a lot of resellers is too. We're all selling profitable products, but it just takes so much time to build momentum. There's so many expenses around a business that just add up, like subscriptions and fees and selling costs. I mean, it is crazy. There's so much more too, but that's just a big one off the top of my head. Jim 6 was hired as a seasonal associate. Hey, good luck to you too. Did you consider other jobs that you would be your own boss, such as companies like TaskRabbit or Tackle? Yeah, I looked at TaskRabbit. I don't know. It didn't really get me too excited, but I mean, I think it's valid. I don't think there's any problem with it. Oh, I mean, you tried reselling, you move on to bigger and better things. The most successful learn and move on to the next best idea. Rarely, yeah. Oh, okay, Greener, I got you now. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it is bigger and better things. Like we're doing it a different way. It's not a failure if I can't be a full time. Let me back up. It's not a failure if I can't be only a reseller right now at this moment in time. I don't consider that a failure. There's been some moments where I've started to feel that way a little bit, but I don't really consider that because that's just not the way it works. And when you look at the list of successful people that are out there and all the stops and starts and failures they had along the way, it's crazy. Or even just how long it took them to get from, here to here. Sometimes it's decades. I mean, it's a long time. Like, this is a long game. So I'm not going to beat myself up over, hold on a second. Hold Sorry, somebody was at the door. It's just a lot of time that it takes to kind of make that all happen. So that's where I'm at. Let's see. With your experience, maybe you have a chance for advancement. I know, right? Wouldn't that be crazy? Did Amazon ask if you have a seller account? No. I don't think there's any provision against it, Mark, from everything I've read and seen. I didn't directly ask someone. I guess if there is, I don't know what I'll do if there is. I haven't decided to figure that out. Scott says, I've enjoyed your content and learned a lot from you, and I hope that you continue to make videos. There's nothing wrong with working a job and selling online part-time. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to continue to make videos. All this change, this new direction has kind of invigorated me somewhat to do more content, strangely enough. I think mainly because it's just like there's just a lot of things that have been going through my mind the last 2 or 3 months, but especially the last few weeks. And so I'll definitely share that with you guys and maybe we get some value from it. You got to have capital to absorb the mistakes. Yes. And you will make mistakes. You will definitely make them. I've made plenty. I feel like if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not really taking enough risks. And granted, that doesn't mean you should go crazy, but if you're not, mistakes are a result of, a decision that didn't quite work. There's another challenge on Amazon when they decide to jump on your listing. Yeah. I don't tell you on Illinois Picker. I mean, if Amazon jumps on your listing, I've had it happen to me on several. Not my specific listing, but something I was selling, and it's just brutal. There was something I was selling, and there was only about 5 or 6 sellers, and we all had quantities of like 2 or 3 or 4, and they jumped on and had 1,000, $9.99 plus, and they were like 40% cheaper. I mean, it was just. I think I finally, with that item, just told them to dispose of it, or maybe I had them send it back. I can't remember, but you just got to eat those when that happens. I mean, that is definitely a risk of being on Amazon. The only way to avoid that risk is to have your own products and so on. But there's risk with that too. People can knock them off. I mean, you have a different type of risk, but private label and so on. But Yeah, if Amazon jumps on your listing, it's probably lights out for that listing. You might as well just accept it and move on. Sadie says, I thought had plans to play poker full time. Dang it. Good to see you, Bob. I know, right? Well, playing poker online full time in the United States is pretty hard. If you do it live, that's different. But doing it online is pretty tricky these days. Um, but yeah, that would be fun. Amazon doesn't care if you sell on Amazon. Yeah. Uh, if I didn't have a pension and a paid house, I could never make it on full-time reselling. Yeah, I mean, like you made it work for you, Susanna. Like you made reselling become a complement to those other things, that you have arguably most people's biggest expense, their house or apartment, is paid for. You're not paying that every year or every month, and you've got another source of income. So that makes total sense. I mean, everybody's got a different, everybody's starting from a different point, which is something we forget in this. We don't all start from the same points. We're not all at the same point, but that's important. Pull it back and sell it via eBay, Paul says, for items on Amazon. You could do that. Like if Amazon jumps on your list, I've done that with some things, and it works okay. I mean, the sell through on eBay is just so much lower, and it's also usually it sells for less, so you make less profit sometimes. But I think Amazon uses a seller to evaluate products and then jumps on when profitable. I agree. I think they absolutely do that greener pasture, and if I was them, I would do that too. They're playing a balancing act because they know that. Here's the thing, guys. Amazon needs third-party resellers. Third-party sellers make up the majority of the sales on Amazon. They need third-party sellers, but they don't need any individual third-party seller. You could disappear from the platform tomorrow, and it doesn't matter. So that's the way they look at it. So any one person, and there's always going to be another group of sellers who wants to come along and take your place. That's just reality. So when I hear things like, "Oh, Amazon's going to make it so bad that no sellers want to sell on the platform," not likely. I mean, they're the biggest e-commerce player by far. It's unlikely that there aren't going to be a continual stream of new people, new sellers who want to go sell on the platform. So I don't think Amazon's going to run out of sellers anytime soon. Now, other things could go wrong, from competition and so on, but they don't need you. They just need you in the aggregate. Mark says, when you first started watching, you were a big eBay seller and then you moved to Amazon. What made you switch? I don't know if I consider myself a big eBay seller. I don't feel like I was really that big of an eBay seller. I sold on eBay, but Amazon, I've talked about this in some other videos. The sell through, the ease of FBA versus storing product and dealing with customer concerns and so on. I just felt like, and the ability to sourcing for Amazon is much simpler than eBay, in my opinion. You have a much better idea about if something will sell or not. Now, granted, it might not sell for the price you think, but you can kind of figure that in your calculation. eBay is so like all over the place. Like I can pick up the same item on eBay and as 100 other people are selling, and mine will never sell because their pictures are better, or they're doing promoted listings, or I mean, there's so many reasons, and it just started driving me crazy. I just figured I wasn't ever going to be able to scale eBay without the time and energy that, I mean, it would have taken so much more to put into it than I really wanted to spend. I decided it didn't make sense anymore. Do you still have your rental office? No, we actually moved out of that a couple weeks ago. So I was looking at a different one, but ultimately I decided I could kind of do it, from home, and I don't know. I just don't need that much space anymore. It's extra expense. It was a drive every day. I decided for all those reasons, I was like, meh. It was nice. Don't get me wrong, but where are you working? Well, the title of the video talks about Amazon, Chris. So there you go. Mistakes are okay as long as you learn from them. Sure, absolutely. Illinois Picker says, your videos on jeans in particular were very helpful to me and the most comprehensive and easy to understand on you. Thank you for that. Well, thank you for that comment. That's very nice of you to say, Illinois Picker. We tried to, I feel like we wrung out of the jeans every bit we could of information and sourcing. And I mean, not that I knew everything about jeans. I'm not suggesting that. But we learned everything about jeans that we thought we could learn to the level to where we wanted to do them at least. And then, we realized like, hey, this is not going to be the best path for us going forward. But selling jeans on eBay is a very simple way to sell on that platform, in my opinion. It probably still is. I'm not as up on it now as I was, but it's a really easy way to do it. They're very plentiful. They're easy to understand and easy to store and pack and ship. So, your videos help me get into books. Thank you for that. You're very welcome, Chris. I appreciate that. Hopefully you do well. Is your wife happy about all this? Yes, she is. She's happy because she's happy for the mental reasons, not so much the financial reasons, the mental reasons. She sees it like as making it easier for us, and she's right. No opportunity to work for your friends that have huge Amazon businesses, like when you hit all the Toys R Us. I probably could add them, but that's very sporadic work. I don't have a warehouse anymore, so I can't store and ship a bunch of things for them. There are some opportunities I have with them, though, that I am exploring, which I don't want to say too much about for obvious reasons. But I am exploring some opportunities with one of them to do some things for them still, which will be cool. And it ties right in with reselling. It is reselling, so related. So we'll see how that goes. Joseph, I fish in Charlotte Lake Wiley a lot. Nice. It's a nice lake. I source near Lake Wiley sometimes. I love your videos. Thanks for your time. You're very welcome. How do you handle health insurance as a reseller? Well, you buy it. Amazon actually provides benefits, it looks like, after maybe 90 days, health insurance. I think dental and life insurance are available the first 90, and then after that, you can get health insurance. So but as a reseller, you would just buy it. I mean, you buy plans. I mean, this is what people don't get about insurance, and this is a whole nother topic, so I'm just going to spend a second on it. But like when your employer, like you go work somewhere and they have an employer plan, like you're paying a monthly premium, and your employer is paying some premium too. But people think, well, they're paying the biggest chunk of it. That may be true, but that has an effect on wages. Like they would pay people more if they didn't have to pay for insurance cost, right? So it's not as if it doesn't cost you something. You don't see the direct cost, but if you're working for $50,000 a year, maybe they would have paid you $53,000 if they didn't have to pay as much for your insurance. So it's not like you got, somebody's paying somewhere along the line. So that's important to remember. So if you want health insurance as a reseller or a self-employed person, you can purchase it. It's out there. Some of it's crazy expensive. Some of it isn't. It just depends on lots of factors. Deb still has your first pair of jeans. Very nice. That's cool. They finally made their way to her. The first video I ever saw was you and Kaaren in a competition to pick the most jeans. It was fun. We did have some fun doing that. She's always so picky on the jeans. I could always get more than her, and always, but hers would have less issues because she took more time to look at them up front. I'm also a reseller on eBay and Amazon. I've been over 15 years. It's what I do every day. I love it. Good for you. Good job. That's good, Joseph. I thought about being a drop shipper for Amazon or eBay sellers. Yeah, there's a lot of drop shipping courses out there too. My friend Paul Lipsky has one that's pretty good. Once I post this, it'll be in the comments. If you're interested in drop shipping, he has a pretty good course. And drop shipping is a very viable business. It's tough. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you got to put the work in and you got to stay on top of it. But it's definitely potentially very lucrative. Have me and the wife always been entrepreneurs? No, definitely not. Just like free healthcare in college, somebody's paying. Yes, I agree. Illinois Picker. All All right, guys. Well, listen, I think that's going to do it for this stream. I want to thank you guys for coming out, and I'll keep you updated about how this job goes with Amazon. And if you have any other questions about it or working for them, or just, maybe working a part-time job separately, or, anything reselling related, leave me a comment down below. And be sure to check out the description. There will be some helpful stuff in there, and I will catch up with you guys later. Peace.